Hi everyone, I'm Dave Robinson and welcome to another live screencast where I'll be analyzing data I've never seen before. As usual, I'll be analyzing using R in our studio, and I'll be taking data from the Tidy Tuesday project, an amazing project in R run by the R for Data Science online learning community. This is the third time that I've been doing a live screencast. There should be about a 20 or 30 second delay latency I've found. So if I ask a question, it might take 20 or 30 seconds. I am reading replies as they come in, so feel free to comment if you're watching this live. But if you're at any point during the analysis, if you feel like, oh, this would be an interesting thing to study or to analyze, or have you thought of asking this question using this package, feel free to write the suggestion. I'll probably see it. I may or may not include it, but I love getting suggestions as I go and trying them out. So feel free to add your comments live. If I ask questions, feel free to answer them in the chat. If you see me make a bug, would love to get your correction. And I'm really excited to get started with this live screencast. Today, we are going to be looking at Broadway musicals. Data set contributed by Alex Cookson. So thank you, Alex. We're inviting the has a blog post. I tend to avoid looking at the blog post before I look at the data. Weekly box office grosses from Broadway. So I'm not a Broadway super fan, but I live in New York City, and I'm a big fan of Broadway shows. So I'm really excited to see some of the things that we can learn about Broadway shows. All right, there's some data. I like to use the Tidy Tuesday package, the Tidy Tuesday R package. So I'm going to create an RMD and start looking at data. Any other New Yorkers in the chat? Anyone else who's a fan of Broadway shows? Library Tidyverse, library Tidy Tuesday. I don't actually have to load it. It's already there. But I'm going to do theme set theme light, which is my favorite ggplot2 theme. Loading in today's data. Let's look at what we have. Ooh, I love this. You can see the documentation for each of these data sets. Okay, so let's start with let me see, we have grosses, we have synopses. Synopses is the shows. So we can actually see what the show and some of the text about the show. Okay, we can see the consumer price index. So this is, I believe, meant to measure inflation. And let's see, pre-1985 starts, dashes in the name. Okay, so there's some starts. I wonder if I need to clean slate for that. Looks like the most important table is going to be grosses. And we have, oh, I see, okay, so the data comes since 1985. And we have, yeah, this is going to be the most interesting of these data. It's the one I'm going to spend the most time in. I wonder if I'll use the Tidy Metrics package again. So let's see. Right. Somebody said, happy birthday, David. It is not my birthday today. Maybe they're talking to another David. All right, so let's see. To get distracted by the chats. We have the show. We have the week within the year. Ooh, this is so cool. This is a lot of data. We have the weekly gross. Overall, looks like across all shows, and then the weekly gross is just for this show. We have the average ticket price, the top ticket price. Looks like there's a lot of missing data in potential gross, and let's see, potential, at least in the early years. Potential gross is weekly box office if everything was sold at full price. Okay. Average price of tickets sold. Oh, there's so many interesting metrics here. I think I may be using Tidy Metrics. I'm seeing some people in the comments who are interested in seeing more examples of Tidy Metrics. I might absolutely do that. So we have number of previews, performances, percent capacity, exceed capacity. Oh, there's so much great data here. Oh, I really like this. I really like this data set. I'm really very excited about it. Okay, so I'm going to start by looking at some of the most obvious things we'd want to look at, which is graph, say one or two shows over time. So Broadway shows. All right, so if I take grosses, my favorite musical is, like a lot of people's favorite musical, is Hamilton. So I'm going to do Hamilton. I saw it at the Public, and then saw it once on Broadway. no, twice on Broadway I saw Hamilton. I'm a really big fan. And the what I can then say is what was week ending and what was the weekly gross. And that works well as a line plot. All right, so basically the weekly gross was going up and up and up, and then it's basically been stable at, wow, 3 million a week. I'm going to expand limits. Y is 0. I'm going to scale Y continuous. I guess they probably were raising the ticket price during this period of time. And the comma, let's see, the labels is scales, comma. Oh, not comma. So I actually am interested in dollar. So yeah, it started at 1.5 million, going up to 3 million. And if I looked at the average ticket price, I'd probably, let me stay with this a second. Yeah, if I looked at the average ticket price, I could do average ticket price. And yeah, you can see like basically the ticket prices were rising for Hamilton. It's basically been sold out ever since it started in mid-2015. All right. So we have, we can see Hamilton. Now I can try other shows. What are other shows I like a lot? I like, I'm trying to think of one that's been on for a while. I like Sunset Boulevard. That was kind of on, yeah, that had a revival. It's still on? That's cool. So it was on for a bit in the 90s. It was on since 2012. Maybe that's a little choppy for this. I'm going to try The Lion King, or is it just Lion King? The Lion King. Oh, what I neglected to do, you might have seen it, was say color equals show, and you distinguish these shows. So one thing we actually see that's interesting is weekly gross for The Lion King has some kind of periodicity. It spikes in particular months. Probably this, I'm gonna guess the summer months. The tourism season probably goes down something like the end of each year. I'm not exactly sure. But the idea is there's periodicity. So it started in the 90s, and it's been going up and up and up. There was, maybe it was closed down, really closed down. Don't know what it would be closed for. This is not, Sandy was 2012. This could be just a data issue, but maybe it closed down for a bit in 2006 or 2007. All right, and then we see basically Hamilton quickly was outpacing The Lion King in terms of weekly gross. We might want to aggregate to month or quarter, which Tidy Metrics is really, really good for if we wanted to look at this. So other people are suggesting, ooh, and Deepak suggests maybe a 4-week moving average would smoothen the graph. Yes, but we're definitely going to be doing that within Tidy Metrics. I'll show how to create things like a 4-week moving average. Alex Cookson helpfully noted that Lion King moved theaters in 2006, and that's why it shut down for a week or two. So it's not a data quality issue. It's a real thing where it briefly was very low. That's really cool. Okay, so I'm gonna I could keep looking at a couple individual shows. I'm going to smooth this, actually. I think it's really great to show. I'm going to show how we use Tidy Metrics to aggregate something with data over time with particular periodicity. So what I'm going to do is say, take a look at our grosses. I'm going to filter for one show to start, The Lion King. Now, right now, there is a column week ending. I need to rename that to date. That's something about Tidy Metrics. So Tidy Metrics you can find on GitHub, install from GitHub. I'd say rename date equals week ending. That's something we have to do in order to work with the functions. And then there's this function cross by periods. Cross by periods says that I want to aggregate this. I'm about to want to, it's kind of like a group by. I want to aggregate this perhaps across week. Oh, it kind of already is week. Maybe I'm going to skip that. Let's say month and quarter. I'm going to start with that, and then I might do rolling windows. So the so what I'm going to do is look at month. So this actually says I want to aggregate this by month and by quarter. What this did is it actually duplicated and grouped the data. So it actually duplicated it. So there's now a period column that represents whether it's a month or a quarter that we're looking at. And I crossed by periods and then summarize gross equals sum of weekly gross. So the total of the weekly grosses across a month is going to be, across a month, and the period is going to be the monthly gross. So now I've got the period, and this is going to be either month or week, and then we've got the gross. So what I can do, so I'm going to actually call this Lion King summarized. So I've summarized it across periods and across weeks and months. So what does that look like? Well, I could graph date, gross, geom line, and say color equals period. So now I've actually, notice I've actually aggregated it across in the same line of code, across my periods and summarize. I've aggregated across months, and I've aggregated across quarter. If I want to create a dashboard, I could actually see like what is the, I could actually see like, oh, look at the quarter, look at the month, or for that matter, look at the year isn't supported yet by tidy metrics. It should be. It absolutely should be. Let me confirm that. No, year is supported. I don't know why I didn't think it was supported. Ah, great. Month, quarter, or year. Normally I wouldn't graph all three of these. It's not really helpful because I might only graph one of these at a time. But it might actually be helpful if maybe I don't just want gross. Maybe I also want to know the average ticket price. So I want to say the average ticket price. I'm actually going to say USD gross. I'm going to put it in dollars. And then I say average ticket price. Remember, it's not yet adjusted for inflation. That's an issue. Then I'll say average ticket price is mean of average ticket price. I say USD. We're going to see later why in tidy metrics really helpful to do to start things with US dollars if they're money. So now I've got, sure I can do gross by period, but I can also do USD gross now called. And again, it's not that helpful to do it by period. I might want to filter for just one at a time. I could also do it by average ticket price. So I'm aggregating by multiple dimensions. This is actually kind of a neat graph. This is like if you wanted to know the average ticket price by year, by quarter, or by month. And what we see is like once you kind of get, I'm going to try and make the lines a little bit thicker. What am I going to do? I'm going to do LTY equals 2, alpha equals 0.5, thick, transparent, no, not LTY, I meant to do size equals 2. Size equals 1. Yeah, I'm trying to just like, I'm trying to see kind of all of these at once. This is kind of an interesting way of looking at it as you see, oh, month has a periodicity. Quarter does as well. Maybe it's probably higher in the middle it kind of looks like it's high in 2 quarters, probably summer and fall, and then lower, and then by year just going up. And that certainly looks to me like it's faster than inflation, though it's actually pretty important that I do expand limits y equals 0 on this. This is average ticket price, remember, not total gross. It looks to me like I'm pretty confident it's faster than inflation. But yeah, the story is really Lion King you can get for $150 now. Yeah. In any case, this is like average ticket price over time, by month, by quarter, by year. I could have filtered for just one of them. I could have, or I can visualize all three of them at once. So that's how cross by periods works. Anytime you have a date, you can start aggregating by gross by ticket price. It's really pretty powerful. I'm going to tidy this a tiny bit more, say scale Y, continuous. I should have done library scales up here. I love using, I love setting this. I love saying labels equals dollar format with the parentheses. Let's just say, here's the ticket price, and then I could have said X is time, Y is average ticket price, color is period. So this ends up being a pretty easy graph to make once you have cross by periods in your pocket. And it's good for showing how we can smooth it. There's actually something else that we can do here. Someone mentioned a 4-week window. So there's actually cross by period supports looking at rolling windows. So I can say cross by periods. These are my period names, month, quarter, year. I also say windows is 28, we say 28 day, like a 4-week rolling average. Oops, looks like, all right, looks like we're gonna need to, there's an issue here, but hopefully it's still, fingers crossed it still worked. But let's see here, how does this look? Yeah, it looks, one second, I just need to, I'm gonna remove the month for a moment. Yeah, it works, but just needs to be edited, needs to be worked with. All right. The story here is that now this is a running 28-day window in green. It becomes a period called rolling 28D. So we can then see like, oh, I see. So rolling like 28 days, here's the periodicity. What if I said instead of 28 days, remind me, what's 12 weeks? Is that an 84? Yeah, 84 days. I could have added multiple here. I could have said 28 and 84. Heck, I could have even dropped the quarters and the years. And then I look at it again and I say, whoop. I actually need to say, I need to explicitly remove this. Periods is null. Still practicing with this, yeah. The story is like I can look at it a rolling 28 or 84 day window. Instead of 84, what if I said like a rolling year? And this is kind of like a smoother version of that year graph, of that like overall year graph. So this is like a rolling, so the point is I can do rolling windows, I can do periods, I can do a lot of things. So I'm gonna do month, quarter, and year, and then I'm gonna do window, 28-day was the suggested one, so I'm gonna go ahead and include a 28-day window. And these are my, my summaries. All right. So we looked at the USD gross, I looked at the average ticket price. What other metrics might I look at? Maybe I want to know now seats sold is going to be a number. So I'm going to do, let me see, I'm going to do number of seats sold is sum of seats sold. So it's like, here's how many, that's another metric we could have calculated and it would work across an entire month. And then I want to say, let's see, potential gross is logical. That might suggest that it's all null. That's a little discouraging. Maybe I'll look at average capacity. Average or PCT capacity. How would I do PCT capacity? It would be seats sold divided by seats in theater times the problem is times the sum of the seats in theater. Yeah, the thing is that we for percent capacity, we can usually just do average across percent capacity, but we might do, let me see, we might say, let me see, percent capacity. I'm going to do this, I think the proper way, which is the sum of, is that this is in the denominator and what is in the numerator, but sum of seats sold. I think that's the way we would compute it. I don't want to do the average capacity because the capacity could change in the course of a month or a year or a period. So this would be the story. Yes. So PCT capacity, and now I could graph that, and I could graph it across each period. So seat capacity. I really like this data. Oh, seat capacity is PCT capacity percent format. So one thing we see when we do it at a percent, now the month and the rolling 28 days are basically the same. One thing we see is that like, oh, the capacity, the seat capacity, oh, I have a bug somewhere. There's no way that sum of seats, there's no way it's been seat capacity 800%. I'm going to just say mean of PCT capacity and hope that that's a little bit closer. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on getting this right. I'm going to, yeah, because like, I think, oh, I got what happened. Yeah, that's not going to work. But that sum approach I was taking doesn't work with my cross-by approach. It's not a big deal. It just means I'm going to take the average of PCT capacity. Okay, so so somebody asked, is the 28-day window a moving average or an average each 28 days? It's a moving average. So there is a record each day. I'm going to say no periods and just look at the moving window. And the story is that the window is actually continuous. It's not quite continuous because it will be actually it's not quite continuous because we only have data once each week. but the story is that it is a 28-day moving average. It's of the preceding 28 days for each date. So if I show Lion King summarized, arrange descending date, this is the result. It's going to have data for every day, and the aggregate prices are just, but they're only going to change once every week because we only have data per week. We do not have daily grosses. Well, this is a really good data set for showing tidy metrics. I'm really excited about it, particularly for showing cross by periods and how we would use cross by periods to get moving windows and period aggregations in a tidy format. All right, let me see. So I took a look, let me see, at PCT capacity, and here we go. Yeah, so this is another metric, and notice this one is a percentage, and I'm like, oh, in a rolling 28-day window, this was that bit where it moved theaters, but otherwise, like, it's mostly filled to capacity with some exceptions. Since in the last about 10 years, it's been fully filled to capacity. This dip, it started in the fall. It's not, no, it didn't even start in the fall. It started maybe a year ago. It's not coronavirus related. I'm not sure what maybe started this dip in capacity in the last couple of years. But mostly Lion King's been close to capacity. All right, so that's a story about Lion King, and summarize it. I could do it for another show. Could do it for Hamilton. Data's still named this, but funny way, but Hamilton has been a little bit over 100% capacity consistently, so it always sells out and sometimes sells some additional space, some standing room only or something like that. So that's really that's pretty cool. Okay, so notice like this tool, this cross by periods. I'm gonna bring back aggregating by month, by quarter, by year. Should I do it by month? Should I do it by month? Month, just, I'll do it. I'll leave month in, and then also by a 28-day window. Yeah. All right. So these are the metrics I'm gonna track. Thing is, I could do this for one show, and then I could do it for another show, and do it for another show, do it for a period, do it for another period. I could keep going around that. Really, we want to create an interactive dashboard that lets us explore this data ourselves. So here's what I'm going to do. There are too many shows right now to support to support using graphing every show on a dashboard, at least with the stuff that comes built into tidy metrics and shiny metrics. But I'm going to show how to create a dashboard that lets you visualize several shows and lets you visualize a couple of shows and then have an interactive dashboard that lets you like examine the money they make, the average ticket price, how many seats were sold, the capacity, everything else, each of these metrics across this this dashboard. We might even have a chance to correct for inflation, which I haven't done yet. You excited? I'm excited. Share if you're excited in the comments. Definitely go for it. We're going to be doing tidy metrics and shiny metrics. What I would love for people to do is name in the comments a couple of their favorite Broadway shows, preferably ones that they know have run for at least a couple of years since 1985, and hopefully ones that I know how to spell. I already included Hamilton and the Lion King. People go ahead and shout out other ones. I really like Les Miserables. Oh, we have Rent as suggestion. Did I spell Les Mis right? Let's find out. I am just dreadful at French, as everyone learned when I was analyzing the Tour de France and trying to pronounce things. All right, I spelled Les Mis right. Anyone else shouting out ones? We have Phantom of the Opera. All right. I will not be including Cats. I am not a fan of Cats, but I am a fan of Wicked. Wicked's a great suggestion from Deepak. Let's see, Hamilton, Lion King, Les Mis, Rent, Phantom of the Opera, and oh, we got Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. I'm gonna quickly guess this is how these things are spelled in the data set. Oops, I'm not going to call Lion King summarize anymore. Harry Potter, let's find out if Harry Potter's in the data. This is a trick that I would do. I'd say string detect, show, Potter, and distinct show. Parts 1 and 2. That's an awful lot here. Parts 1 and 2. I'm actually going to go ahead and, oh, The Phantom of the Opera. All right, I think I got all of them in here. We got a bunch of other suggestions, all really cool stuff. I'm going to include the Book of Mormon, which I also really like. But that's enough. I don't need any more suggestions. Thank you so much. So we have 8 shows here. I'm going to create a dashboard that lets us visualize these 8 shows. And let you explore, let you or another Broadway fan explore these shows. Later, I might have a chance to show how we do it for all of them. I have to take a little bit more work. And the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this a little bit. I'm going to say show is string remove. From the show, I'm going to remove parts. This is I'm trying to do a I'm trying to remove the parts 1 and 2 because it's going to end up really big at any graph we make. Okay, so now I cross by periods, I summarize, but I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to cross by dimensions on show. What does that mean? What that means is cross by dimensions is a lot like group. What it does, it says show is a dimension of my metric. It's a way I can break down an overall metric like the amount of money made on Broadway and take that dimension and visualize it in a graph, get a more specific dimension within it. And what I'm going to do then is say, here it is, grosses, and I'm going to save this as shows summarized. All right, and the let's see, shows summarized. Here, shows summarized. And what happened when I did the cross by? I'm also going to throw in an ungroup. What happened when I did the because after group by and summarize, cross by, what happened is it added a level called all. Check out that level in show. It's called all. That summarized across every show. So it's like across these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 shows, the average ticket price in 1987 was $36. Not quite right because I think maybe only Phantom and Les Mis, maybe Rent were certainly only those 3 had opened by 1987. I doubt all 3 were playing. But the idea is that so average price might be a little confusing in the overall, but we can look at that, and then we get a capacity across all of these shows. So the we have shows summarized, and now if I visualize this, I would probably want to look only at one period, shows summarized, and say color is show. Oops. Period is, let's say year. Let's say quarter. Year is so little data. So now what we're seeing is like, oh, this is the total gross from each show or overall. I could have dropped the show is not equal to overall to all, and heck, I could have actually done this as a stacked bar plot. I could have said fill is show, and now I show, oh, this is how much money Broadway was making over time, broken down by a couple of shows. Here's Wicked showing up. Here's Hamilton showing up. Here's Harry Potter the Cursed Child showing up. I think, yeah, this dark green is Les Mis. When did I see it? I saw it. I've seen it, I think, twice on Broadway, and I saw it around here in 06. Did I say in 06? Was it even playing in 06? Maybe I don't remember when I saw it. But and here's here's Lion King, and here is a stacked bar plot. So like this is some ways we could visualize it. I could also have looked at their average ticket price. I filtered for period and show not equal to all, and then I look at average ticket price. These are 2 metrics that I decided to take a look at. If I were doing average ticket price, I definitely do not want a stacked bar plot. That's not a good visualization. It's not good when it's prices. So now it's showing, oh, okay, Hamilton is by far the most expensive show there's ever been on Broadway. We haven't adjusted for inflation. I hope I have the chance to, but I don't want to like distract from the other things we're doing. And yeah, so here we're seeing like, oh, okay, here's Harry Potter, which actually had a high price and lowered. I wasn't the biggest fan of Harry Potter. It wouldn't surprise me if they lowered their ticket price a little bit. The Lion King average ticket price going upward. Book of Mormon briefly had a very high ticket price. Yeah, so we're getting a sense of how we can visualize each of these metrics, and some of them need a bar plot, and some of them need a line plot. Notice I'm doing all this stuff. I'm doing this I'm doing this filtering. I'm doing this choice to remove the all level, but I'm doing all this manually. I'm doing all this in code. What if I wanted to make a dashboard? The way that I would make a dashboard, I'm going to move. I don't know, I'm gonna have to try and get this code working again later. If I want to have everything, if I want to kind of have everything still going. I did something. Cardinal sin of my screencast is that I edit code instead of starting new ones, so this code doesn't work anymore. I might get back to that later. So let's say we have shows summarized. Yes. So the story is these are metrics: gross, ticket price, NB seats sold, PCT capacity. These are 4 metrics defined over time, and this in turn show is a dimension. What we're going to do is take shows summarized. Where am I? We're going to take it and we're going to turn it into a metric. In the tidy metrics framework, we can do use metrics scaffold. It's a helper function that gives me some stuff that I'm going to add to our to the top of our document here. I'm actually editing it up here. This format, this user interface is going to change a little bit. Right now, metrics, Broadway, revenue. I'm giving a category and a subcategory, owner. Again, I'm putting in my email. This is stuff that right now tidy metrics use. I think it's going to change at some point, but total gross USD. And I say not adjusted for inflation. I'll put the same here. I might delete NB seats sold. I think it might not mean what I think it means. It might be, so I'm not particularly interested. Average percentage capacity averaged across weeks in the time period. So what I'm doing is I'm adding a little bit, I'm adding like a human readable title and a description. That's really essential if I'm going to turn this into a metric, and I'm going to turn this into a dashboard. So I'm actually doing the documentation and that user interface part up front. So an average ticket price, USD. Ooh, if it's USD, I should say USD average ticket price. The prefix in a metric is meaningful. It tells the dashboard how to graph it. So I'm actually going to call this USD average ticket price. Shoot. No, I'm not. Shoot. That would create a bar plot rather than a line plot. There's little details to how tidy metrics works that that Ramnath and I, the co-creator, are still working out. But I'm showing, here's what we do: average ticket price, here's PCT capacity, our percent capacity, average across weeks and time period, and our dimensions is shows title. That's a solid description. I probably need more description if I'm going to be like productionizing this. This I might definitely turn into a blog post. I think this is a great data set, terrific data set for showing tidy metrics and shiny metrics. So here's my metrics. Here are my dimensions. I don't need this line anymore. And what I'd do is I'd say shows summarized, create metrics on it. Oh, NB seats sold. I need to rerun this line. I hadn't done that yet. So notice, I take my data. This is the raw data. I do a little bit of cleaning. I get a subset. I take a show. I rename a column to date. I need that for cross by periods. I group it by dimensions, but also include an all level. I group by periods, month, quarter, year, or a rolling 28-day window. And then I summarize 3 metrics. After that, I'm actually going to move this code down because it's not as relevant to the metric framework. It's like an example. After I've done that, I create my metric objects. And now I have show metrics is now a list of 3 metric objects. So now it's Broadway revenue, that's the title, USD gross, which then shows, oh, in this dimension, in this month, in this date, in this the metric had this value. It tells me which periods I've calculated it for. It tells me when I saved it. That can be really useful in a dashboard. It tells me the dates. This is called a tibble metric. Oh, I thought there was documentation for that. No, there isn't. This is called a tibble metric, and what it does is what it is like it's a special version of a tibble that has this extra information with it. It's really helpful for turning it into a meaningful visualization. So I just want to note that like we created 3 metrics: the total gross, the average ticket price, and the average capacity. These could all be interested to someone who's into Broadway. So we're going to make a dashboard out of each of these. The way that that works is that we'll take show metrics. It's now a list of these 3 metrics. Here's one, our total gross, and we say and I'm going to load up Shiny metrics, which can be installed from GitHub. It's still a work in progress. I'm going to say preview underscore metric of Broadway revenue USD gross. Open it in the browser. And here's my my data. What this is a dashboard now of the total gross of a show in dollars. And this is now a stacked bar plot where I can look at here's all my shows. I thought there were 8. Oh, it's in and notice it's over only the last year. I could switch it to all time. I could also have done just the last 6 months, or I could have set a custom period. So this all comes with Shiny metrics. This is called a metric panel. It's really helpful for visualizing a metric with dimensions and periods over time. So this is now my interactive dashboard. It's a Plotly dashboard of the gross of Broadway shows over time. Notice it took like it took a few lines of code to calculate and 2 lines of code to create it. I did need to write the documentation, but that, why did I leave it? Oops. I did need to create the documentation, but now we can see, oh, here are my shows. Look over all time. I could look by month. I could look by quarter. I could look at rolling 28-day window. Rolling 28-day window is kind of a lot of data here, but yeah, here we go. And now we can see, oh, here are the gross of each of these shows. And because it's dollars, it's looking at them aggregated. So think about how you might use these metrics. If you're at a company, you could break down your annual recurring revenue by various dimensions. If you're analyzing, let's say, I don't know, coronavirus data, you could say, okay, break down cases by country. There's a lot of things you can do in terms of in terms of looking at change over time. This is a bug. It only goes back. Why is it? It only goes back 10 years. I think that's has to do with Shiny metrics. That looks like that might be a bug, but we just might not be able to get it farther back than 10 years. It's calculated in the data, but it might not show up. Okay, I'll have to take a look at that later. But the story is, here's my shows over time. Wow, look at Hamilton popping up. This is Plotly, so I can easily say, oh, I just want to look at Hamilton by double clicking on it, or I want it, or once, how do I get them all back? Oh, there it is. Or remove, or hit 1 to remove just one. Or hit the CSV button to download this data as a CSV for this period of time. So this is pretty cool. So, and we even get documentation where we get that sentence that I added there, not adjusted for inflation. And yeah, the CSV data, if I clicked it, downloads the data that you're currently looking at, including the dimensions into Broadway revenue .csv. So yeah, so that's looking at the total gross. But I also could have looked at another one of my metrics. What if I wanted to look at the ticket price? I could have said the USD. Oh, I think I called this average ticket price. No, right, I did have to. Yeah, this was an issue because it's an average. I could have said Broadway revenue average ticket price. What was I complaining about? The thing I was complaining about right there was that I'm not able to get this in, that now this y-axis is not in dollars, and look at all time. So this is, notice it doesn't say dollars here. It also doesn't go to 0. There's a way to make it go to 0. I'm going to have to try and remember this, remember what it is. But the story is, now I've got an interactive visualization where I can say, oh, here's, by the way, in black you can see the overall average. And then here I can see, oh, okay, this went up this went down, and you say, oh, let's say I don't care about, let's say someone says, oh, Les Mis was only running for a little bit. I don't want to include that in the visualization. Phantom runs the whole time. Wicked runs the whole time. That's cool. Cursed Child ran for a short time. Don't want to include it. You'd say Book of Mormon. The point is, you can edit this graph like live. You can choose what you want to look at because it's a Plotly graph. You can then say, oh, I looked by month, but I really want to look by quarter, smooth out that variation, or by rolling windows. So the story is all of this has this aggregate by over, and you can still export the data in whatever form. So the story is you have your documentation. These are the features of shiny metrics. The idea is as long as you calculate the data in the right way, there's a way to explore this. So this is how tidy metrics and shiny metrics, developed by me and Ramnath Vaidyanathan, work together to create interesting dashboards. The last one I'm going to include is PCT capacity. Percentages. So this is actually what I was referring to before. When you use PCT in your prefix, it actually knows to make this a percentage, and that's really helpful. Notice like there's so little customization. The customization was like I had a title, a dimension, which now has a little browser window on top of it, and now I can see, okay, here's the capacity. And something that's interesting here is Phantom is going down, is sort of the only one that's been substantially going down over time. Wicked is down to like 86%. Hamilton has consistently been over 100%. It's kind of the idea. And I can look at all time. So yeah, Phantom has been mixed, and yet Les Mis did not run for very long. We can actually, in its most recent iteration, we can notice that's because it mostly, yeah, you can take a look at that. It mostly was like in the, was not completely sold out during that time period. Lion King usually close to selling out. Book of Mormon usually around selling out, and so on. Yeah, so this is an interactive visualization. All right. So the so let's see. All right. Can you include, Simon Ramirez has a fantastic question. Can you include a button in the dashboard to choose one of the 3 metrics? The answer is sort of, not by default. So the story is, I was just looking at 3 metrics, and there are 3 lines of code. The answer is, let me think for a second about whether I can show this in a in the time that I have. How much time do I have? I have 17 minutes. Yes, I can. Can I? No. I'm actually not going to take the risk. Sorry. There is a package called Shiny Bones. Ramnath and I developed it, and the Shiny Bones is an opinionated framework for organizing dashboards. So the story of Shiny Bones is that you put everything into a YAML file like this, and then it sets up your metrics. I don't think that I could, in 10 minutes, set up a dashboard. Could I? You know what? I'm going to try it. Okay. Here are the things I'm not going to do. I'm not going to do any analysis that isn't about tidy metrics, shiny metrics, or shiny bones. I'm not going to be correcting for inflation, which I would have done by joining this data with the CPI. I'm just going to look at doing shiny bones. And I should be able to do it in the next 16 minutes. All right. The way that shiny bones works is that, do I have shiny bones installed here? I think I do. What I do is I can create a scaffold, a shiny dashboard app using shiny bones. So what I'm doing actually is creating a new R package. Shiny dashboard app using shiny bones, and I'm going to call it Broadway. I'm creating a new type of dashboard. I'm going to do it in this folder, repositories, data screencasts, and Broadway, shiny bones, create project. Yeah, I think I'm going to be able to do this. Okay, this is going to be really cool. I'm creating a shiny dashboard using shiny bones that allows to visualize all 3 of these metrics at the same time. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to save this. We could save this in a lot of different ways. I'm just going to save RDS this to the file Broadway shiny bones slash show metrics dot RDS. I'm saving this to an RDS file, which allows me in this app to load in yeah, I'm just going to load it in as the data. So this is the global data that gets passed in. Let me think. Yes. All right. This is Shiny Bones designed. Preview metrics design. Sorry. Shiny metrics is designed to work well with Shiny Bones. I'm gonna cross my fingers and hope that everyone else is crossing their fingers too. I could use all the fingers I can, because some of this functionality is still in development. But I want to show how you create an app using Shiny Bones. What I say is read RDS the show metrics.rds. So I'm bringing in my metrics. I'm loading these. I'm also gonna load in. I believe I have to. Yes, I have to load in shiny metrics. This is the app.r. This is a lot of stuff this is like the details of Shiny Bones. You can ignore it mostly. The story is mostly we're not going to work in app.r. We're going to work in this YAML file. The way that Shiny Bones works is that when you run the app, it doesn't look at your code. It looks at this YAML file and uses that to scaffold out your app. It's kind of, this is the ribcage of the app, which is why it's called Shiny Bones. So you've got your dashboards, you've got your widgets, you've got your charts. What this is saying is, here's the components of the page in YAML. If you haven't seen YAML before, YAML looks like, YAML is this kind of format where it says, here's list, here's items within it. And then what I do is I go to app and I run it, and what this actually does is it creates a shiny dashboard with those components. The story is it doesn't yet, right now it's not yet supported, but notice that I didn't write code to create dashboards, widgets, charts, give them each these cute little icons. We just have this built in, this text icon and so on. There's nothing else there. So what I'm going to do is delete these, and here's the way we work. I'm thinking about this a second. Here's the way it's going to look. It's going to be, I'm going to make it charts, and the story is we say, remind myself, one second. Here's how do we do this? It's been actually a while since I did this, so thank you for metric. What I'm going to say is metric panel. And I'm going to remind myself the arguments. The story is Shiny Bones. Every one of these pages is a module. So a module, if you haven't used Shiny modules, they're really powerful when you're creating larger apps. They make each page self-contained. Shiny Bones is a way to hang a lot of modules off of that dashboard, off that rib cage that we're creating in this YAML. So the story is here. I say, well, I want metric. Metric page is what it's called. Nope. Nope, I just remembered this doesn't work. Something's not supported in here. Something's not. All right, look at me go. That's okay, I think I might still be able to get it to work. All right, the story is I say, here's my text is revenue, and each of these is going to get, oh no. Yeah, well, let's see. Let's see if I can get it to work. I'm missing something. There's something I can't do here. There's a module that's not yet supported. But I was so excited to show you folks Shiny Bones. I might still be able to do it. I'm thinking about how to do it. Expression. I use a global variable. I think there's a chance this is how it works. There's actually, yeah, oh boy. Module, oops. Oh, I did this wrong. Module, metric, panel is the name of the module. So this is a module, metric panel. It's a Shiny module. And then it gets one argument, metric. So this is how, and then think that's the way to do it, exclamation point expression. I might need to look that up. If someone remembers how to, in YAML, do, module metric panel. I was pretty sure that what it was oh, I see it. I think it's like this. Ah, yes, 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 yes. Okay, so we're actually close here, but there is a reason this looks ugly. It's because it's not that ugly, but like there's a reason it looks a little bit off. Yes. In answer, quick answer to Michael Chow is that that's using page metrics. One second, just answering one person. All right, so the story is, here we go. This actually worked. Thank you for everyone who crossed their fingers. Because the story now is that I can actually say, what I can then do is define my dashboard using 3 tabs: revenue, ticket price, and average ticket price, and let me see, revenue, ticket price, and what was the third one? Oh, capacity. I might even shorten this, just the price and capacity. And I say, I think this looks pretty darn close. Yeah, so that took a minute to set up. But what just happened is with one YAML file, I now created a 3-tab Shiny app that all pop up in our charts here. So then we can see is then like what happened here in this YAML is we said, well, I want a tab called revenue. I want it to include a module, the module metric panel. Metric panel is a module provided by Shiny Metrics. You can use Shiny Bones without using Shiny Metrics. So it uses the metric panel module, and the argument to the metric panel module is our metric object. So this is the so this is here where I said, okay, here's my metric panel, and here's what I'm passing to it. And then this is the messiest part. It's where I actually had to say, okay, we're actually passing. This is not a string; it's an object. In YAML, you can do exclamation point expression. There's a little bit of messing around with this here. Ooh, someone pointed out that I did this wrong. This should be USD gross. Yes. So I'm going to show this. I'm going to visualize this one more time. So the here we go. Revenue, price, and capacity are all three tabs that we're looking at in here. And notice, like, I didn't define the documentation or anything else. That was defined at the time of the metric being calculated and saved. Notice that it tells me it was last updated 18 minutes ago. That could be helpful if, for example, you're recalculating metrics every day or every hour. But the story is now Shiny Bones allows us to create these tabs, create these sidebars, and Shiny Bones. What's also really important about it is it separates it separates the structure of the dashboard from the contents of each of these components, and that makes it really easy to rearrange things. What if I actually wanted what if instead of putting these in separate tabs, I wanted to put them in separate sidebars, like separate, like here? What I would do is I'd move, let's see, I would move, I think it goes like this. I'm gonna rearrange a little bit. I'm just cutting this. Let me first check if this works. Yeah, and open in browser. Yeah, that works. What I do is move that and say, okay, I'm going to rearrange them and say revenue, price, capacity, and then change this to average price, average ticket price, I think, and change this to PCT capacity. And while I'm at it, I can change these icons. These icons come from the free version of Font Awesome, which you can look at here, say Font Awesome. And check this out. I can search. Font Awesome is a really great set of I can search for. I want the price one to have a dollar icon on it. It's called $sign. I want I want capacity. Maybe that's people or seat. Is there anything for seat? Is there sign for seat? Chair. No, I really wanted one of these theater seats, which I'm not really seeing. But I'm going to try people. People. I'm really just trying to find a user. Oh, I think there's users, which I think actually, without even looking it up, I think looks good. The story is like I just changed these icons and the modules still remain the same. Revenue, price, capacity. Price I probably should have done. Ooh, I'm going to make revenue. I'm going to switch this around. I'm going to say revenue is the $sign, and price should probably be a ticket if I can find that. Ticket alt. And now I'm showing these 3 dashboards. So notice in like in the end of 10 minutes, we went from having this data calculated to having an app with like these 3 components on it, and I can rename it. I say this is called it's called Broadway shows. We now have this app with each of these components. Revenue, price, capacity, and we've customized it through that YAML file. So that is Shiny Bones. I'm going to walk you through the 3 packages one more time before we're done. What I'm going to share is, here we have, first I did just some regular cleaning with a tidyverse. Tidy metrics is what allowed me to do cross by dimension show and have our various levels as well as all. I could have added other dimensions. And then cross by periods. In like terms of month, quarter, and year, month, quarter, year, and then calculate my metrics. So this is tidy metrics. This is the cross by. Tidy metrics also has what supports create metrics. Then we have shiny metrics, which allows us to do preview metric. It's the metric panel module that lets us visualize these. This, where I got one individual module, that is shiny metrics. And finally, if I want to turn those individual modules into one big visualization, that is Shiny Bones. So these are 3 packages Ramnath and I have developed that are really powerful in terms of creating dashboards for exploring data. So that was in 1 hour from opening the data. We now have the ability to look. We have all this functionality in terms of our kind of business intelligence of looking at our show's revenue. That was pretty cool. Yeah, okay, that was fun. I definitely learned a few places that I'm going to be working on these applications. So, all right, that concludes our my screencast. Feel free to stick around. I'll stick around in the chat if you have any questions. But I had an awesome time. I hope you did too, and I'll see you next week.